Is control the key word? Is that what would sum up Arsenal's performance?
Yes, I thought it was a poor game, to be honest, especially second half. There wasn't much there, was there? A lack of quality, really, which you don't normally associate with these two big teams. But Arsenal looked in the second half in terms of control. Chelsea was not threatening too much, 1-0 up, and they looked like they was happy just to protect that 1-0 and see the game out. So yeah, you could call it that, or professional performance to get the job done. They'll be delighted with that result.
Is that because they've both got the same problems? They're both missing
creating
that centre forward,
well,
as well as a little bit of creativity.
It's exactly that, Dave, and obviously they haven't got that focal point, but I think Arsenal are adapting better in this situation. And we spoke about Arsenal's prerogative this season now before the game being, mainly lying in Europe now in the Champions League. And for them to have this sort of routine Premier League performance, I think shows the structures and the processes that Mikel Arteta's got in place versus where Maresca has got Chelsea right now. And they're on an early journey, Chelsea. I mean, it wasn't the most attractive game in any way. They didn't create much at all in the final third. You can see what they're trying to do with the build-up, but at 1-0 down at the Emirates, I was like, are they going to try and get a goal back or not? And I think for Arsenal, it was business as usual. They got the job done, but again, didn't create. Gary Spahn, they didn't create too much.
Was that the biggest disappointment for you? It didn't look like it was hell for leather from Chelsea to try and find a way back into the game, or was that because they find it so difficult against such a well-drilled defensive unit in Arsenal?
I think I agree with a little bit what Izzy said. I think I'd like to see more risk. At 1-0 down, I think that's the time where you do need to take more risk, commit bodies forward, like I said at half-time. Try and furnish your forward players in 1v1 situations and really try something different. The obvious thing I'm going to say is obviously the likes of Cole Palmer was missing today in terms of that special player that can turn a game on its head. Sometimes you do look in them moments for someone to create something a little bit
but also
out of the blue.
Jackson at the top of the pitch and Madueke in wide areas
big miss. Yeah, the three players you just mentioned there, big miss. You've seen Tyreek and Dewsbury Hall come on, which is really, to be honest, the only attacking option they had on the bench. So when you are looking to change a game, and you've got them three players in your armoury to call upon, it's a big thing for Chelsea, which they didn't have today, unfortunately.
So perhaps, given all that, it's no surprise that the game was decided by a set piece.
Well, we spoke about Arsenal set pieces before the game. Obviously, we touched on this at half-time, but it's really well worked from Arsenal for many reasons, and they have that imposing threat. But we highlighted Madueke here in that position on the edge of the sixth. Nkunku, my bad, sorry. And the way that he stands in that position, it's to hold the space, to guard the space, to stop any balls coming into that zone. And Marino's 1v1 with Reece James. Nkunku has a little check, he steps back, and Marino just arrives into that space. The timing from Arsenal is impeccable. The way that Marino, gets away from Reece James here, the flight of the ball takes it over Sanchez. But the key in that is the positioning of that front post man and the way that Marino attacks the space, and that has ended up being decisive in this game.
We didn't mention, did we, at half-time? Obviously, Chelsea never had anybody on the post. Maybe if they had somebody on the back post, that could have been.
So where are you taking the man from to put the man on the back post? Where are you taking the man from?
We did look at Levi, didn't we, in that clip? And obviously he's naturally got attracted to the striker, which you would do. You're not going to mark space, you're going to mark the player. Again, I don't know what the setup was. If you see Levi here, just on the back, he maybe could have dropped on the back post, but he has to go and mark the player. But ultimately, it's about the first contact. The first contact is key.
And do you think he's actually shooting there? Is he thinking, I'm going to try and head this in the net, or is he thinking, I'm just going to try and win the first contact?
He'll probably tell you he's going to nestle it in the bottom corner, but reality is he's getting the first contact to flick it on. I think the run he makes is so far outside the front post, I would imagine in training sessions they've gone, right, try and make the first contact, and then the other players come in behind as they loaded that area to flick it into that space. So I'd imagine that was the play, but he's delighted that it's nestled in the bottom corner.
Well, I'm sure they all are, and I'm sure the set-piece coach is delighted as well,
because it's been a while. Isn't he now?
He's back in the game,
yeah. Sure, Gary Neville will be delighted.
98 without, but you must start to wonder.
Yeah, well, of course, again, going into Europe as well, back in Champions League quarter-finals, it could be decisive against Real Madrid, those set pieces, but again, Arsenal, they just look dominant in every area, and I was really disappointed with Chelsea.
What about that right-hand side, which seemed to work better, and I suppose Gabriel Martinelli being a key factor in that?
Yeah, exactly, and obviously when Saka's fit, Saka operates on the right, Martinelli on the left in a first-choice front three, but Martinelli, I thought he looked really sharp today, created this chance early on. This is Trossard, should have hit it on the first time, and that could have been in the back of the net. He didn't, but it was that link-up play with Odegaard, and I don't think Odegaard is right back to his best yet. But this was Timber getting in behind on that right-hand side. Again, almost bullying Cucurella in this moment here. And it's a bit of pinball in the box, falls to Rice. And then you can see the little snapshot technique over the bar. But I do think that Martinelli, this is brilliant here by him again. Just the 1v1 thing, which, Gary was saying Chelsea missed these sorts of moments in the game. And I thought he was starting to find his form again, Martinelli. I think he looked brilliant this afternoon.
It's just been positive, isn't it, in that situation? Like you said, he's very positive in his play. He wants to go to the byline, he wants to try and, cross the ball or cut it back. Here again, willing runner. Obviously the ball from Odegaard there was poor. But I thought it was a bright spot for Arsenal today. He tried to create, he tried to produce something. He was positive, like I say, in his running. I thought he was good today.
This is Merino again. Arsenal's number 9. But it was a brilliant first-time shot at the back post. But this just shows here how dominant Arsenal were down that side, and it's all due to that man there, Martinelli.
Yeah, 50% of their attacks coming down the right side. And of course, we have seen him when Arsenal have been full strength. Bukayo Saka on that side, as you said, Martinelli on the left. But when he has stepped over to the right-hand side a few times this season, it does seem to actually suit his game.
Yeah, I mean, he's out and out winger, like I said, and he looks to commit people, he looks to go forward 1v1. Obviously, they've missed Saka. The link-up that Odegaard has, especially with Saka, they've missed that. But, in terms of an attacking player and in terms of somebody looking to create for Arsenal, he's done well.
Certainly it's felt important for them to try and secure this Champions League place for next season before they get involved with the Real Madrid ties.
Yeah.
But is this another positive, another big step forward for the Gunners?
I think psychologically, for an Arsenal team to beat a Chelsea team in the Premier League, it's always massive. And I think for them to do that today and, increase the gap between them and Chelsea, who obviously, Gary mentioned before the game, Chelsea, the importance of them qualifying for the Champions League next season for them as a club, and recruitment in the summer as well with certain players, in the number 9 position, perhaps. But I think for Arsenal now, they're starting to gather a bit of momentum. But just going back to that Martinelli point, I think it's interesting because, forward players, sometimes when you give them a sort of different stimulus, they can sort of find, a new level, a new rhythm. And when Saka comes back, hopefully it is before the end of the season, it'd be interesting if Martinelli continues that success on the right-hand side. Where's Saka going to play? Will he be off the left, perhaps? Something different for him. But if Arsenal can find a little tweak and a little bit of, you mentioned it as well, risk in that final third, that could be the difference in the Real Madrid tie, in the Champions League, to find that bit of magic to push them into a semi-final.
It's different as well with Martinelli playing on the right-hand side. If you see them clips there, he's looking to go on the outside very often. He's coming in behind the full-back, looking to cut it or cut it back or cut across. On the left-hand side, sometimes naturally as a winger, you come inside, you look to come inside and shoot, and maybe the crosses are coming in at a different angle. So it's slightly different for Arsenal in that sense.
Defenders have forgotten how to deal with wingers that go on the outside, haven't they?
It's a thing of the past. It's gone out of fashion.
It's a relic. Yeah. It's a relic in football.
I mean, you'd be delighted as a full-back, you just show him inside and away you go.
Towards the centre-back.
Yeah, to have to keep doing your job is difficult.
Mind your hamstrings. Let's have a look what Arsenal have got ahead then. Of course, they've got the ties with Real Madrid, the other side of the international break. Next is a home game against Fulham, who have beaten Tottenham today. Then they go to Mikel Arteta's former club, Everton. That'll be an emotional day for him, saying goodbye to Goodison Park before those ties against Real Madrid. Do you think, having won today, Gary, they don't have to worry so much about what's behind them now, that they feel secure in that top 4 or 5?
Exactly that. Yeah. I don't think that was in doubt even going into this game, to be honest. But yeah, they've just kind of sealed that. And now they can look ahead as well to obviously the Real Madrid game, which is going to be huge for Arsenal in their season and in terms of trying to get their hands on a trophy, which we all know how difficult it is to win the Champions League. But this is one opportunity they still have left, as well as the league. But like we said, we think that might be just a little bit too far this season for them.
And if they beat Fulham, the gap is 9 points. We've got to ask the question, Izzy.
It's going to come back around, isn't it? It's not over yet. It's going to come back. We've been going through ebbs and flows and yeah, obviously Arsenal, they have to just take care of business, and the most important thing for them, finishing second. They've got to keep that gap, reinstate the authority in the league, and like I said before the game, it's not a failure this season at all. They're currently Champions League quarter-finalists, they're second in the league. They've reinstated that gap again this afternoon. I think they're doing all right.
Must be so difficult though if you say, like, for example, Arsenal season after season are getting really close, but just not close enough. Yeah. To keep that belief, to keep that momentum. They're so close, and they have a spine of the team now, which in the past maybe they didn't have.
You've won the title, Gary. A couple of times at Chelsea. We're talking about them as having another good season, but What do you think they are missing then to take that next step?
I think a lot's been made of obviously the striker situation, and I think you can't look past that in some ways. You look at their top goal scorer this season, is it Havertz with 9 goals? That's not enough. That's not enough. And it's easy
we
to
were
turn
talking
around.
off air, weren't we? I was saying that the last 2 seasons they've had at least 3 players hit double figures, and their top scorer this season is Havertz with 9, who we're not going to see again this season. So there is a chance there's not one player in double figures this time.
Which, look, it's easy to sit here and say, look, they're missing a Salah, they're missing a Haaland, a Harry Kane, somebody like that. 20 goal plus, what's that worth in points? It's worth a hell of a lot of points. And I just think in terms of the returns, like you've just said, 9 goals, the highest goal scorer at Arsenal at this moment, is just not enough. And I think that's what is lacking, in my opinion.
I think Jamie Carragher's been talking on Monday Night Footballs really across the season, is he, about Arsenal just shifting that dial. They've gone quite far one way in terms of pragmatism at times this season, which is why we see them so strong defensively. Is it just a question of just moving that cog a little bit more to the adventurous side next season?
Yeah, it's turning the dial, and I think, to be a top club, in anything, in any what you do, to be a top manager, to be a top player, you have to always turn the dial. You can't settle for just being there or thereabouts. You want to win trophies, you want to challenge. And it is clear to see, the numbers back it up, like you've just mentioned there, they have missed an out-and-out number 9 and goals from other areas. You go back to 2 seasons ago with Arsenal, 22-23 season, where they had players in like teens in terms of goal contributions in contributing to what the team are doing. The Odegaards, the Sakas, the Martinellis, they've added to that. And obviously, I still think that final third has been difficult for them because teams are dropping up against them. That's probably why they got more joy this afternoon. That yes, they didn't score many goals this afternoon, but Chelsea played out and it gave Arsenal more space to play in. When teams drop off against them, that's when they've struggled and it's become a little bit monotonous. It's about finding that bit of magic and taking, exactly like you say, a bit of a risk in the final third.
Cranking.
Enzo, you stressed the importance of being in the Champions League next season, so that means competing against the likes of Arsenal and others. So how frustrating is the result here today?
Yeah, has been a shame, first of all, because I think we have been in the game until the end. I think between the 2 games, the first game at home and today, there was not a big difference, but I think we are in right also for the situation, the amount of injury. We compete until the end. Now the good thing is that we recovery player. Today Romeo Lavia was back after a long time. After the international break, we can have more player back, like Nicolas Jackson, Noni, and we can go for the final sprint.
How problematic is it? You mentioned the 2 players there, and also Cole Palmer couldn't take his place today. How much harder does that make the task to come somewhere like here and get a result?
No, yeah, it's difficult. As I said, our 3 players with more goals are Nicolas Jackson, Cole Palmer, and Noni Madueke. No, one of them is available in this moment, and 2 of them they have been out for a long time. But the way we compete, I think, was good. The game was there, I think 50-50, and then they scored set pieces that they are master on that, and we lost and we feel bad, shame, but in the same time my feeling is that we go in the right direction.
Towards the end of the first half, last 10 or 15 minutes, you had some good period of intensity. Did you need to find more of that in this game today?
I think we struggled a little bit first 20-25 minutes on the ball and off the ball, but after that we controlled the game, we created some chances. Second half we were there. In any situation, it's not easy to create chances against Arsenal. They are probably the best defender or one of the best defenders, so it's not easy. But overall, I think, as I said, we compete quite well.
There's been a lot talked about your goalkeeping situation with Robert Sanchez. He makes a good save, but there are moments in the game where sometimes, does it have you worried? Does it have his defenders worried?
No. I said I've been quite clear with the situation. With keepers, we are quite happy with both, and today Robert was good.
Just finally, as we started this interview, talking about the Champions League, I think it's 5 points separate you now to the team in 10th place. How big is the fight going to be for Chelsea?
Yeah, it's a big one. It's a big one for us and for all the team that we are involved there. I think in this moment is also how we manage a little bit the emotions, because when you win a game, you see yourself close to the target. When you don't win, you can see yourself far from the target, but we'll be like this until the end.
Enzo, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
It is all so tight, and Chelsea's struggles away from home are just leaving them with a lot to worry about behind them in this race for Champions League football next season. For those who've played 29, 9 games left, 27 points to play for. So when you consider that Bournemouth are only 5 points behind in 10th position, it's all on, isn't it, Gary? I mean, it's not quite pin the tail on the donkey, but I mean, it's getting that way.
It's very, very tight, isn't it? It's very tight. So yeah, the pressure's on now really to keep the foot down and try and secure them positions, because it's vitally important, like we said before, and like the manager has reiterated, it's very important that Chelsea, finish in the Champions League positions. Really,
I'm sure if I asked you, you'd say they will finish in the Champions League positions.
Of course.
Yeah. So let me follow that up then.
Next question.
Let's skip straight to the other question. And what makes you think that Chelsea will finish in that top 5? Because it looks like it'll be top 5 rather than 4.
Yeah, no, I think they will. I think with the players that you just mentioned coming back, I think that'll be key to keep everybody fit. I think they've got enough, certainly, to finish in them positions. And I do think the club is progressing. The disappointment today, going back to the game today, was that I felt like they didn't produce enough in the game. You come back off as a player and you're disappointed if if Arsenal, had played amazingly well, you could come off and go, listen, they're the better team. Today, the game
are you enjoying
was there to be
watching
won. Am I enjoying watching Chelsea? Yeah, I think they're going in the right direction. Like I say, they have attacking players. They have a lot of youth in there, which, like I said loads of times before, will take time. But yeah, they're certainly going.
So would you expect, given that they are, I think, a couple of years younger than in average age than any other team in the Premier League, would you expect next year this group to have advanced again to be fighting even higher in terms of the title next season?
I'd like to think so, and like I said at the top of the programme, I think if they did finish in the Champions League positions and did well, obviously, or won the Europa Cup, would be massive. And I say massive for this group of players because, the first thing they win as a group of players, a young group of players, obviously will spur them on to go and achieve more. But yeah, like I said, I do think they're going in the right direction. In answer to your question, next season, yes. You have to see proof in that. It's all right me saying, listen, we need to, be patient, give them time, which is sometimes difficult to do. But when you see progression and you see, forward movement, then you can buy into that easier. And like I said, if they finish in them positions and do well in the cup competition this season, I think that's progression. Next season, they'll be looking to progress even further.
Where would you question Chelsea under Maresca?
Well, I would say they're lacking a Lampard, a Terry, a Carvalho, maybe a Gary Cahill at the back.
Maybe.
That sort of... I'm talking about a leadership, a personality, a scruff of the neck type player that, like you look at Liverpool, Van Dijk, you look at, the teams around them, there's players who you think are their go-tos. You look at Arsenal, you look at the way Declan Rice, stamps his authority.
So it's not an age thing, just to clarify.
It's not an age thing. No, it's not an age thing because it's a bit more of a like today, I didn't see anyone grabbing it by the scruff of the neck and going, we want to get back into this game. And I know that's easy to say, and I just think what Maresca's doing, I don't have any questions about it in terms of I don't think it's not working. I think he's building the foundations. He's putting the concrete down to build on top of it. But I think to win trophies and to do major things, you need big personalities in changing rooms to rally the troops, even on the training pitch, to rally the troops, to instill that mentality, to then go to the next level. I don't think you get that from... I'm not saying there's anything wrong with youth, because brilliant. But I just think that personalities win titles.
But the reason I agree with that, I totally agree with that. But there's an element where if, for example, the way forward, or the owners see the way forward of this football club is to obviously get this young squad and let them grow and almost nurture them and progress them, then you look at it and you go, what haven't they got? They haven't got experience. They haven't got maybe what you've just said there. But you gain experience by playing games. You gain experience by going through ups and downs, which is why I say that we have to be patient with this Chelsea team. But every year they get experience, which is why I just said to you, next season, yes, I do expect them to be better than they was this season because they've gained extra experience. They know a little bit more about what's going on in the league. And they've gone through these experiences.
Says, leaders still have to emerge, don't they?
Yep.
Do you see those in this group?
I see certainly they could add one or two more to that, to that kind of calibre of player who you said to drive the standards, to kind of, like you said, get people by the neck. Today was a prime example. That needed somebody in there to probably do that. Because I'm watching the game in the second half thinking, come on then, get to that next level, do something.
I thought Colwill today, he showed a bit of that. But you're looking at like the Enzo Fernandez, for example, like, he's only 24, but I think there's a perception around him that because he's won the World Cup with Argentina and the role he played during that tournament, he was like a leader. And he came to Chelsea and it's probably his best season yet so far, the way that he's playing in a higher role. That's irrelevant, but he's still only 24. And you go, and he's still got space to grow. But I don't think there's anyone in that team that stands out and goes, bang, they're a leader. They're going to take it by the scruff of the neck.
No, but it's easy for me when I was at the team to go into that dressing room as a younger player, when there was already leaders in there, and kind of come up underneath them to then get to a level where I can go, feel like I'm a bit of a leader in here now. So I had that time to progress into that leadership role. Whereas, like you said, now the squad is so young, there's maybe one or two in there. And it's also difficult because we're judging leaders on what? We're judging leaders on seeing, in the games. Yeah. Whereas we're not in the dressing room, we're not in the training ground. Maybe there is more leaders there than we think. But certainly, the more experienced, kind of grit your teeth, get hold of people type leaders, I think we could obviously do one or two of them maybe.
Remind us what happened in your first season at Chelsea.
We went on to win the Champions League. I like that to you, that was lovely.
Champions League and?
Yeah, FA Cup.
Oh, anything else?
No, it wasn't a bad first season.
Not too bad. How Mikel Arteta and Arsenal would love to get their hands on the Champions League. That is still possible, and it looks like they've secured their spot for next year's competition as well. Well, almost anyway. Here he is now with David Craig.
Mikel, I think it's fair to say last weekend there was a sense of frustration, but this weekend, is there more cause for optimism?
Yeah, it was, because we went to Old Trafford, we drew, and we are all very disappointed. And that's the standards that we set now. And today, I think we deserve to win the game. I think we're better than Chelsea. Really not concede anything apart from that strange save from David. And we should have do much more, especially with the amount of goals that we regained in the high press. But overall, very happy. It was a very important game.
Nothing has been mathematically decided. We talked about turning the screw before today's game. How important was that turn of the screw?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's what you want to do. We play a top opponent. It's really a joy to analyse and how they play and how Enzo has coached them, the quality that they have. But we can face any opponent. We know that on the day, and the team play with an unbelievable attitude. I really like that. And we go to international break. We're on it.
After that international break, you have another opportunity to turn that screw I'm talking about. I want to ask you, you've been at the team like Manchester City, you've been out in front for a long time. Can the mindset start to create a few doubts in people's minds? If you turn the screw again, if you're in the Liverpool camp, can the mindset change?
The only thing we can do is win our matches, that's it. And that's what we are trying to do. Against Fulham after international break, we have another one. Try to win that one. If we do, we're going to be in a better position.
Mikel Arteta gets your goal today. There's been a lot talked about your strikers, but you seem that you're finding a way. What is it that he shows you that tells you about the attitude of your team and the way he's adapted himself to that role?
Well, that is very strange. Obviously, we had 4 of our top players out for many, many months, and that's for any club. Normally, I went through the history of the Premier League. When that happens, the results of those clubs, none of them in Europe. That's what happened. Our team, they have an incredible resilience. They really want to do it. He's never played in that position before. His work ethic, how much he's trying to do, and on top of that, he's scoring goals.
How much of a nuisance is he in that striker position? Because, as you say, he's not a natural striker by trade, but he's making life difficult for people.
Very difficult, and he has other qualities, and that's for any club. Normally, I went through the history of the Premier League. When that happens, the results of those clubs, none of them in Europe. That's what happened. Our team, they have an incredible resilience. They really want to do it. He's never played in that position before. His work ethic, how much he's trying to do, and on top of it, when he's setting the box, he's a really dangerous player. He can help us on that, on set pieces. when we have to attack at low block, when the opponents are really high press as well, his movement, he's intelligent to fix people, to bring people in the game. He's top, so really pleased because even physically he's a...
It'll be about him.
I mean...
You're in. You're still here. That's the important thing. Has he got a chance?
Yeah, he's got a good chance, yeah.
Good on you. Well done.
Very different perspective this week than last, wasn't it? Last Sunday, you'll remember Mikel Arteta wasn't really that happy with the line of questioning towards the end of the interview around the title race, walked off prematurely, had to be recalled by Patrick Davison, and he's thrown that in there to surprise us a little bit here this afternoon as well.
It's good that he's consistent when they win and lose.
Well,
draw. Sorry, draw.
He's got a sense of humour, and he can afford a smile this afternoon, can't he?
I thought they were brilliant. I just picked up unbelievable attitude he said there about his team, and I thought they were. I thought, you know, they had an excellent opportunity to put authority on the game, put authority on the title race. Is it not a race? I don't know, but he's spot on. I think they just have to keep believing, and the momentum they can gather in the Premier League and to get as close to Liverpool as possible will help them in what, you know, they want to do in Europe in that Real Madrid tie.
And how nice. It feels, Izzy, like Bukayo Saka is going to be returning pretty soon, perhaps after the international break, as he says, and maybe in time for Real Madrid as well.
Yeah, I mean, that would be huge, wouldn't it, for Arsenal? You know, to have him back in the league, full stop, but to have him back for that tie would be very, very timingly. He's a superb player, absolute great player. But yeah, on the game today, you know, they did a professional job on Chelsea. They controlled the game. A set piece decided it. How many times have we said that?
Yeah. And is there also something, Gary, in if they can't win the league this season, then trying to get as many points as possible, just to build momentum before next season's title challenge?
Yeah, of course. The manager's just said then all they can do is win the game in front of them and see what happens. You wouldn't imagine the squad Liverpool's got to slip up that many points. But like you said, all you can do is win the game. I really like the manager, you know. I love his energy. I love the way he is. He seems like he's a real winner. The hard thing for Arsenal is what I was talking about off air. You know, when you get so close, you know, the last few seasons, and you just maybe miss out, it's having that drive and that momentum to go again and again and again, which he definitely has. And I see this Arsenal team with a real spine and a willingness to go and try and get over the line. You know, but it's season after season, they get really close. It must be disappointing for them. Like I said, it's not over this season. Let's make that clear. I'm talking very negatively about Arsenal. You know, all they can do is win the games, which they've done today, and see what happens. Just keeping that momentum and that drive and that belief that you can.
And then, is that where the mentality, the strong mentality, has to come in the summer to say, OK, we missed out. We've got fewer points than last season, which is what's going to happen inevitably. But then to drive again and fight with maybe Manchester City, maybe Liverpool again, whoever else, Chelsea potentially, Nottingham Forest, who knows?
Yeah, I you know, what Gary said, that I echo. I really, really like what Arteta's done. I think he's built a machine. I really do. And I think he's set a standard. They've now got an expectation as a group of a minimum requirement is hard work, you know, excellent attitude, and they've got a way of playing. And I think it's just about in the summer adding layers to that. But I still think this season there's so much for them. That Champions League tie, I keep saying it, against Real Madrid, I think they can win that. I really do. With the momentum and the blocks that they've built over the last 3-4 seasons and that belief, I think they are indestructible at times as a group, as a unit. It's just, can they find that magic in the final piece?
I think the other thing, Dave, as well, if you do add someone in the summer, or 1 or 2 players in the summer, as long as they're the right fit and the right calibre, that's a boost for the squad. So when I'm looking and saying to you about next season, the drive and belief to go again, pick yourselves up and go again, that will really encourage the squad, you know, to see 1 or 2 huge faces coming in here that go, hold on a minute, this is going to strengthen us. We've got a chance this season.
Did you say if they add someone?
Oh.
If, I mean, surely they have to.
When?
We can't have that conversation again, surely, Gary.
When?